Okay, Namaste. So today, from today on, we will going to explain the text called the Jewel Ornament of Liberation, the wish-fulfilling gem of noble teaching from Gampopa. And this text, I think, published from Shambhala publication and translated by Khenpo Chogyal Rinpoche and edited by Ani K. Thinle Chodun. So, Gampopa is the main student of Milarepa, and Milarepa is the 10th century, the greatest yogi of Tibet, and his main student Gampopa, so who wrote this, in Tibetan we call it Thakpo, Tharjin. So the Gampopa is between like a 1079 till 1153, so around end of 11th century and until the mid of 12th century. It's a quite an interesting master, because in the beginning he was a doctor, the Tibetan physician from the Gampo region in the southern part of the Tibet. And he was quite a well-known, the Tibetan physician. That's why his name was, we call it like a Thakpo Hlaji. The Thakpo is the region. Hlaji means the physician, the doctor. He had a wife, and a family. But around the mid-20s, so there was the epidemic in that the southern part of the Thakpo, the area, and his wife passed away. So before his wife passed away, so she kind of make him to commitment that he will not get a second marriage. But instead of taking a vow of not marrying second wife, so he said, I will renounce and I will become a monk. At that time, the Kadam, the Atisha traditional, which we call it like the gradual path. So he ordained in the Kadam traditional, and he was kind of mostly practicing this old bodhicitta and the gradual path until he was quite good in like the shamatha meditation, like for 24 hours he could sit in a one meditation. But still, he felt something is missing. He's not able to go depth. Or then one day he heard the name, the Milarepa, and like it was around age of 30. So he met Milarepa, and he got all the Mahamudra teaching, especially the Vajrayana, the tantric part, and the six yoga of Naropa, all the what the Milarepa received from Marpa, or Marpa received from the Mahasiddha, Naropa, or Naropa received from Telopa, or all the other 84 Mahasiddhas. So the Gampopa, he received all those teachings from Milarepa. So in the end of his life, he has in a Thakla Gampo, in the Thakpo region. So he built the Thakla Gampo monastery around like 1121. And And so it's a quite interesting. He combined the kadam, the lamrim, the gradual path traditional, and as well as the milarepas, the pointing to the nature of mind, that seeing the directly toward the nature of mind. So in that, so he wrote this, the Jewel Ornament of Liberation, kind of in the end of his life in Taklagompo Monastery. So here it's a kind of combination of the Kadam traditional, the gradual path, which is from Atisha, and you can see until the Tsongkhapa, and as well as the Mahamudra, uh, the direct path, you know. So it's a kind of combination of these two. So it's a very beautiful. So let me read the chapter, the name of the chapter. So there are 21 chapters in this book. So let me read the chapter for you so that you have some idea what is this book is all about. So the first chapter is about Buddha nature, the nature of mind. And the second chapter is about precious human life, so contemplating on precious human life. And the third chapter is about spiritual master. Uh, so how to find a spiritual master and the quality of spiritual master. That's a really nice chapter. Those who are looking for spiritual master and they don't know what are the standards, let's say. So the chapter 4 is about impermanence. So it's also on the second chapter, the precious human life, contemplating on precious human life. So this one, in the chapter 4, the impermanence, again thinking about the impermanence of life, thinking about contemplating on the impermanence of relationship or impermanence of name, fame, and influence, and all this health is also impermanence. So the more you contemplate on impermanence, so it's easy to renounce, let's say, easy to settle in meditation. So now the chapter 5 is talking about the suffering of samsara. So it's one of the four, the turning mind, training, let's say. So it's really contemplating on the suffering of the samsara world. So there is the suffering in the sixth realm, all this. So the more you understand the suffering of the samsara, then you wish to renounce, you wish to liberate. If I don't see any problem, so for example, in Nepal right now, so many people are leaving, they all are going to abroad to find a job. Why? Because the young generation, they are suffering, not finding a good job, or not even they found a job, maybe they are not well paid, let's say. So that's the reason. That's a suffering. That's why people wanted to leave the Nepal and they wanted to go to abroad to find a maybe better life and better income, and so that's an example. So what I'm trying to say is this: the chapter 5, the suffering of samsara, is there more talking about the recognizing there's a suffering in samsara. So then that's why I want to liberate, or I want other sentient beings to be liberated. So chapter 6 is talking about the karma and its result. So it's a cause and effect. What cause create what effect. So there's every effect, let's say every result of our life, there is a karma, there's a cause. It's not just happening, let's say, it's not happening by accident. So there's always a cause and effect. So that's a karma, we call it. The chapter 6 is about karma, and the chapter 7 is about loving kindness and compassion. So that's from here. So we will start to practicing, the loving kindness and compassion. So it's going toward the bodhicitta, let's say, training. So from the chapter 8 is refuge and precept. So here how to take a refuge, refuge toward the triple gem, Buddha, Dharma, Sangha, the Buddha and the Buddha's teaching, and then the community, let's say Sangha. So taking a refuge in Buddha, Dharma, Sangha, and all the precept of refuge. So that's a you can see, one. Let's say if there's someone who want to become a Buddhist, so there's a whole teaching how to become a Buddhist, how to take a refuge. What is refuge? It's on chapter 8. So chapter 9 is talking about the cultivating of bodhicitta. So let's say some of you already become a Buddhist. Now you wanted to become a bodhisattva, let's say. So you want to take the bodhisattva path. So how to become bodhisattva? So the cultivation of bodhicitta. So it's interesting, that also mean there is a aspiration bodhicitta and application bodhicitta. So you also have to take the vow, and there's so many precept, of. So there's in order to become a bodhisattva, you have to take a precept, the vow. So same with when you become a Buddhist, you first you take a refuge, So here the cultivation of bodhicitta in chapter 9. So chapter 10 is training in aspiration bodhicitta. So once you took the vow or the precept of bodhisattva, then there's a training, not like you just took some commitment or promise, but here you have to there's so much training. So training, how to train you as a bodhisattva. So training as a aspiration bodhicitta in chapter 10. The chapter 11 is all about training in action bodhicitta, So there's, as I told you, the aspiration bodhicitta and application bodhicitta. So on the chapter 10 is how to train the aspiration bodhicitta. So on the chapter 11, it's all about training in the action bodhicitta, so application bodhicitta. So it's not all about aspiration, but how to put that aspiration in action, the day-to-day life, in order to become bodhisattva. It's not enough just daydreaming or just or wishing or just a good aspiration is not enough, So you have to take action. So that's chapter 11 is all about action, the training in action bodhicitta. Okay, now from chapter 12, you can see all the 6 paramitas, So chapter 12 is the perfection of the generosity, the first paramita out of 6. And then the chapter 13 is the second paramita, the perfection of moral ethic. The chapter 14 is the third paramita, the perfection of patience. And then the chapter 15 is all about the fourth paramita, the paramita or the perfection of perseverance. And then the chapter 16 is the fifth paramita, the perfection of meditation concentration, the samadhi. And now the last, the sixth, the paramita, the chapter 17 is about the perfection of wisdom awareness, the pragya paramita, so ultimate wisdom. So now that's interesting, in order to become a bodhisattva, so you have to go through all the 6 paramita until the sixth level of bodhisattva, the first bhumi or the first stage of bodhisattva. So you have to kind of practice the perfection of generosity, So that goes all the way to the 6th bhumi or the 6th stage of bodhisattva. So now you can see on the chapter 18 is all about the aspect of 5 paths. So, in order to become a Buddha or enlightenment or fully enlightenment, so there is this 5 path. You have to gradually, from application the path of accumulation to path of application, path of insight, path of meditation, and path of perfection. So that's how you become an enlightenment of Buddha. So chapter 19 is all about the 10 bhumi, the 10 stage of bodhisattva. From first bhumi, the first stage of bodhisattva, all the way to the 10th bhumi, and then the 11th, is 11th stage is the fully awakened, the Buddhahood, the enlightenment. So that's really covering in chapter 19. So now chapter 20 is all about the perfect Buddhahood. Like once you become a Buddha, what are the qualities are there? What are what are the realizations? So it's all about in chapter 20. So chapter 21 is all about activities of the Buddha. So because once you become Buddha, so that's a big responsibility, and it's not like you're just sitting there and doing nothing. So now the activities, the let's say the activities of the body, activities of the speech, activities of the mind. So activities of the body, speech, and mind for what? To liberate the sentient beings. So these are the 21 chapters of the Jewel Ornament of Liberation. From Gampopa. So you can see it's a if some of you may read the Bodhisattva Acharya Avatara from the Shantidev. So that's a kind of essence of the Bodhisattva Acharya Avatara is also inside this Jewel Ornament of Liberation. And as well as if some of you read the gradual path of Atisha or the Tsongkhapa, so you can also see the essence, in this the Jewel Ornament of Liberation. And or if some of you read that the Patu Rinpoche's Kunzang Lame Shalung, the perfect teacher's what is that teaching? Or so that's also the Gampopa's the Jewel Ornament is also talking about this essence. So it's a for me, if someone asks me, let's say, do you have a Bible in Vajrayana? So I would say the Jewel Ornament of Liberation, is enough for one person to enlightenment or to understand the philosophy of, let's say, Buddhism generally, and particularly the bodhisattva path, the bodhisattva yana, and especially that Vajrayana, the Mahamudra traditional, So it's a really, like I would say, all in one in one book. So we will explore this together, and please subscribe this channel, and you will going to have a lots of fun. Thank you for watching.